IPMNation.com.
Welcome and thank you for stopping by. The number one rated show here on IPMNation.com, episode 250. 250 of the Gong heard round the world. You're in to All Natural Being, live here on IPMNation.com and at Facebook with rebroadcasts on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Greetings wherever you are, here in the Garden of the Mortals. Broadcast, as it happens, from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, where we're always putting your heart's highest priority top of the list. So All Natural Being is like a battle cry for your brain, putting your primal scream front and center in your life, because we believe it's time to reboot your robust, to find your ferocious, and to out-brutal the brutal that is the cut and shuffle that fate deals you on a daily basis, and to bring your own bold, once and for all, right? Why slight your bright? Why put yourself in the back seat? Where has that gotten you? But before we hit it today, hello to my friends here in the States, United States and Canada, Mexico, the UK, my good friends in Ecuador, China, the Philippines, Brazil, Australia, India, Italy, Germany, France, Turkey, Japan, Singapore, Sweden, Israel, South Africa, Puerto Rico, Kenya, the Netherlands. To those joining us, thank you, sir, very much, from all over the globe. It's great to have you with us. I truly am. You can come around here, buddy. I truly am fired up to be driving your bandwagon. Oh, would you like to hop up and say hello? Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Say good morning.
Good morning.
Say see you soon.
See you soon.
Okay. Thank you, sir, very much. As I say, and he delivered with me, which is as good a place as any to insert the tryh2.com commercial, where now, we talk about hydrogen, inhalation, inhale water. I got my little, I set up a bottle to get my hydrogen in, so I'll have to take a quick little break here in a little bit. Blyden, thank you very much. And again, I was saying, it truly is an honor to be with here. And I dig driving your bandwagon. And remember that we're surfing your psychology to see if it fits you the way it should. It's time to mortal up. We talked about it last week, brawling with Brawdy. Political correctness corrected. And we're going to get to all that. But for now, let's go kick in some doors. And again, thank you for joining me in a little cameo. Blyden loves being on the show. I tell you, he says, can I come down and be on the show? So thank you, Blyden, very much for bringing me. And if you haven't yet, we got all kinds of stuff to get to for Mortal Up Monday. But if you haven't had a chance yet to head over to tryh2.com, as you just saw, delivered, I have my hydrogen water that I ingest and the hydrogen inhalation unit, which I've really just come to depend on. I kind of bookend my days, an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, kind of like my own meditation. But it's really unobtrusive. I can do other things. I can sit down and do some of my writing, do some of my reading. But more importantly, what it helps is to keep the headaches at bay. And they've got a really great definition of how molecular hydrogen works at tryh2.com. You'll want to go and check that out for sure. So, Mortal Up Mondays. So much mashugana in the world to get to this morning. But I also wanted to make comment. Yesterday I posted an audio riff, just a great one, by my good friend Henry Noel. And he's going to start contributing a segment here before too long to All Natural Being in the 24-hour version of our show at IPMNation.com/ANB now. So I'm going to go ahead and post that. Maybe what I'll see if Henry can post it for me. Excuse me, post it here in the thread this morning, because it's really powerful stuff. And I will tell you, good morning, Kelly. Nice to see you. Belated Happy Mother's Day. And to Lee, good morning, sir. Thanks so much for hanging out last week. Hope everything went well. Celebrating your wife's birthday. I hope you guys had a blast. Marcellus, good morning, and thank you for the pictures that you sent. Matter of fact, one of those, that the poem, is a symbol that I've had in terms of a tattoo I've had all my life. Janice, nice to see you. Welcome back to All Natural Being. I know you've been busy, been traveling. I hope you guys, you girls, you ladies, don't want to mansplain. I think if that's the definition of the term. Hope you all had a blast on your road trip. Welcome back. So we're talking Mortal Up Mondays. We're talking, and this was something that I started over on Twitter this morning, right? Like I should know better, but I started over on Twitter this morning. Good morning, Lee, to you as well. It was nice, as I say, it was nice to see you last week. And I don't want to out it on the thread because I don't want to give away your secret, but I'm dying to know how everything went for the celebration of your wife's birthday. So you get a chance later, give me a call. I'm on and I'm in the background. Been a crazy few weeks. It has been a crazy few weeks for you, Janice, but I looked at some of the pictures on Facebook and I hope you were having a blast. You're more than welcome, Kelly. I hope you were having a blast on your adventure. All right, so for Mortal Up Mondays, there's so much to get to, and I don't have the particular article queued up, but it kind of just speaks to it in general, so I thought we could talk about this whole concept of cultural appropriation. And I see that there was a dentist. Rita, good morning. Nice to see you. We were just talking about Henry and his piece, and hopefully he can post a link here in the feed. But Henry did a really powerful audio riff on some of the topics that he'll be covering when he moves over to All Natural Being in the 24-hour version of our show, including he'll be having a segment here within All Natural Being, because I think what we're going to do is we're ironing out the kinks this week, and then probably this week, maybe even the beginning of June, once we get it ironed out, Henry will be contributing a segment each morning. Another beautiful day here in the hood. Good for you, Rita. It's supposed to start raining here in beautiful Columbus, Ohio, as Kelly can attest to, and it's supposed to rain for like the next 17 days. And if you look down at your phone, you get your forecast, you go, oh, well, they're forecasting rain. But when they forecast an 80 to 90% chance of rain and thunderstorms and this and that, you pretty well know that even those meteorologists, it's going to be a washout, right? If it's like a 10% chance of rain, you go, oh, that's a little bit of a crapshoot, right? Maybe they can't predict it, but when they put 80 to 90% chance, it's like, okay, all right, it's going to rain a little here, so we've got that coming. Henry, good morning, sir. Nice to see you. I was mentioning your little riff, which I enjoyed so much, and I thought, Henry, if I could ask, could you put a link to that right here in the thread? We're working out some other things, but as I said earlier, Henry will be contributing a segment. We'll be doing a segment together, right? The two of us here in All Natural Being. And then we're going to move initially to an hour-long format, about 58 minutes, in order to do everything we need to do with the station break at the top of the hour. But then very soon, good morning to you, sir. Then very soon we're going to be going to the 24-hour format where we're going to be reaching out and saying, hey, do you have some content you'd like to provide? Do you have you always thought about a career in radio? Have you thought, oh, yeah, here's something I'd like to do? And I know that Henry's working on, I don't want to give it away because we're going to be a drum roll and everything else, a gong roll, a share bowl roll. Share bowl. You see how I just appropriated that? Talk about cultural appropriation. I'm probably going to get in trouble now for all the people listening that are into prayer bowls. The simple fact that I hit a prayer bowl, or this prayer bowl, or this prayer bowl, kind of like sound like that old NBC ditty, don't I? So, in any event, if that's cultural appropriation, you're more than welcome. So, what we were talking about this morning, Connie, nice to see you as always, or at least nice to see your icon pop up. Hope all's well in your life. We're talking this morning about Mortal Up Mondays. We're talking about cultural appropriation. And I want to get to the concept that I've been working on here for a while, called a dose of dis. All right, but we're going to get to that here in a little bit. But I wanted to take a moment, now that he's on, to thank Henry for that riff. I put it up over at brianbrawdy.com on the Facebook page. It's also over on Twitter, getting all kinds of likes and shares already. So, Henry, if you have a chance, could you put a link to that Twitter feed right up in this feed this morning so everyone can get a chance to listen to it? And as I say, Henry's going to be coming on board, providing content. I know, right? And Rita, I have to tell you, because as I see that you're on, I'm like, poor Rita's got to be going, really? I finally got Henry to the point where he's not working a daily gig. And then Brian says, oh, well, you should do this. So, Rita, my apologies in advance. It was just such a great piece yesterday. I'm thrilled and I'm honored, and I can't wait for him to be on full time and doing this. And Henry will be, and I hope he's told Rita. Rita, I hope you know this. Henry's going to be providing content for our 24-hour show as well. So if there are things that you'd like to provide, if you'd like to be a guest, we're talking about make your own mantra. Right? Spin to win wisdom at the bottom of the hour. We've got all kinds of cool things planned in the hours, the days, if not weeks ahead. So we're getting everything built out and getting ready to go. So back to the concept of Mortal Up Mondays. I saw there were a group of dentists that got in trouble last week, it looks like. Let me just see if I can do this. Dentists that got in trouble because they decided to send out a postcard, a brochure. They decided to do something that talked about, I knew I wasn't going to be able to find it, and I thought I'd saved it over here. But they got in trouble because they said, we all smile the same. We all have the same smile. And it was an ad for teeth whitening. So they got slammed because one of them was dressed as a Native American. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say Indian anymore. One of them was dressed as an Indian. Didn't see that coming, right? One of them was dressed as an Indian. One of them was dressed in a Scottish Highlands kind of thing, which I thought was really cool looking. But in fairness, I'm from that region of the world, I'm told, right? I had nothing to do with it, right? So everyone willing to go to guns, well, that's the part of the world I'm from. Oh, yeah, like you had anything to do with it whatsoever. So good on you. So, but in any event, these poor nurses, doctors, they got together and they said, okay, and just, I love the piece that we all have the same smile. We're all the same when it comes to that. The doctors got together and said, let's use some cultural garb from around the world to say that no matter how we dress, we all have the same smile, right? Or we all have the same heart, you know how I believe. Well, they were just pilloried. They were and they had to issue an apology, which if I were going to say and have an opportunity to speak to them, I'd go, look, never apologize for that, right? Because it was of the best intent. So it was this whole thing about cultural appropriation, right? It was this whole thing about, I saw this video the other day where a person, I won't even tell you who it was, just a person saying, I demand trigger warnings. So if you're going to put up an ad, if you're going to put almost like a PG-13 or an R rated in the movies, these people are asking now, right? These social media social justice, social media. What a Freudian slip. Am I allowed to say Freudian? I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that anymore. Don't want to mansplain. So, but these cultural, these social justice psychopaths are going, we demand trigger warnings. If it's going to be insensitive, we demand that we have something that will tell us in advance before our precious little ears have to hear it, before our precious little eyes have to see it. If you're going to culturally appropriate, if you're going to say something that's insensitive, if you're going to say something that we consider to be inappropriate, it's not about our ears, not about what we hear, it's about what you say. So we demand trigger warnings. Any type of insensitivity, we demand trigger warnings. Which made me, I kind of went down the rabbit hole of this whole thing. And we were talking last week, I know, about progressive adaptation. All right? We were talking about how just like if you're going to build a muscle, if you're working out, I think this is it. Oh, Henry, I was just typing to get ready to do that. All right, so if you get a chance, let me do this. I think what I'd rather do is we're going to go ahead and put the link up right here within the feed so that you can go over. Henry also has a SoundCloud page. You can go and visit it on SoundCloud, listen to the riff when you get a chance, or over on Twitter, and we'll get that and we'll put the link. If you would, Henry, let me just see if I can get there real quick while I'm busy yammering away. So here's the scoop. Any muscle in the human body, we now know, right, is subject to progressive adaptation, which simply means that the more you give it stress in little doses, the stronger it becomes. No two ways about it. So if you want to do a push-up, do a couple, right? You get it to the point where your muscles break down, and then as they rebuild themselves through rest and hydration, right, as they go through all this, they get stronger. It's how you learn how to walk. It's how you learn how to swallow. It's how you learn how to breathe. It's all of that. So it is a basic tenet. There we go. Now I'm getting somewhere. It's a basic tenet of biology. Progressive adaptation. We could debate it, I guess, if you wanted, although it's such a bedrock, right? We could debate it if you wanted and say, oh, well, what do you think about this or what do you think about that? But bottom line is, can't get away from progressive adaptation, right? Here we go. Now I'm cooking with Crisco, as we used to say. Henry, oh, thank you, Henry. I'm just getting ready to do it, and now look at Henry. He's on top of me. He's got it all done already. So, progressive adaptation, we know that's the way the muscle works. So here's what I started thinking about. With everyone wanting trigger alerts, with everyone going, oh, wow, I need to be warned in advance of everything going on, right? If there's something that's going to offend me, if there's something that I view or hear or feel is inappropriate, right? Social justice psychopaths spreading their sickness around. What they're saying is, I stand in opposition to the human biology of progressive adaptation. Because here's my thought. As good as any for Mortal Up Mondays, I suspect. And I'd love your feedback. Thank you, Henry, very much. Doses of dis. And I think when you talk about the formation of a human mind, I talk about the formation of our minds. Just like progressive adaptation with a squat thrust or push-ups or pull-ups or sit-ups, anything else you do. I guess maybe even if you're sticking to changing what you perceive to be as a bad habit, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? You do it in little steps, baby steps, progressive adaptation, basic function of biology. Unless you're a social justice psychopath, at which point you don't believe in that. So doses of dis was a way for me to say, okay, great. What we could do in the formation of a younger human mind, formation of our own minds, is we take just little doses of dis, because then you build yourself a stronger sense of self. But if we raise our children and we demand in our life all these trigger warnings, we demand that we want to be protected, we demand that we wanted to be buffered from our sense of outrage, it'd be the same thing as putting yourself in a full body cast, and then a year from now when the doctors take their little saws and they cut the cast off, you're looking around and going, oh, I didn't know all my muscle was going to atrophy. Right? You ever have a broken arm? Ever have a broken leg? Anything like that? And then you go, oh, well, they cut the cast off and now, like, my forearm is shriveled up to nothing. Well, what about your sense of self? What does your sense of self shrivel up to? If you're constantly put in a cast, you're constantly put in a bubble, you're constantly warned in advance if there's a trigger warning, or you could follow all of nature and go, how about a dose of dis? How about taking, right, insults in little increments? It's almost like getting a shot. I mean, for those people, if you are into or not into, either way, it's just the underlying concept of a vaccine. It's a little dose, right? A little dose of dis. It's a little dose of whatever it is you're trying to beat, and your body builds up an immunity. Well, what immunity does our mind build up if we're constantly going to worry about trigger warnings, if we're always looking, the epidemic of outrage, if we're always looking to be outraged? How do we inoculate ourselves? How do we build up in our mental immune system protection from all the critics spew? So instead of saying, oh no, I need a trigger warning, I can't afford to be outraged, I don't want this cultural appropriation, just has to end. Yeah, because if you wear a mariachi a costume somewhere, it offends other people that are wearing mariachi costumes. And let me just say, so if other people say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't be talking about that." Well, I'm from Wales, so Scotland, Ireland, that whole thing. So please feel free to wear a kilt regardless of where you're from. And again, I would remind you, you had absolutely nothing to do with where you're from. Nothing to do. So get all your DNA tested, do everything else you're going to do. You had nothing to do with where you're from. So this faux outrage, everyone's talking about fake news. How about the fake news of believing that without a dose of dis, without a little bit of dis from time to time, how does a brain go to make it in the real world? So instead of trying to shut down, as Henry says, and I wholeheartedly agree, I believe cultural appropriation is forcing us to de-evolve, deconstruction, and not in a good way. And I would also say that this cultural appropriation makes it easier for us. You want to talk about hate speech? It makes it easier for us to hate each other because we can't celebrate something that's cool about each other if, again, we had zero say in where our parents were when they hooked up and created us. Zero say. But now you want to get your knickers in a bind. Can I say that? Are you allowed to get your panties in a twist? I don't even know if I can say knickers because they're going to say you're talking to boys, or if I can say panties because I don't even know what I'm allowed to say anymore. So just don't get your undergarments all twisted or bunched, whatever it is, because you had zero say in the continent that you were born on. Hi, Janile. Nice to see you. We're talking Mortal Up Mondays, and suggesting that the cultural, the cultural warriors, right? Everyone that wants to make sure that there's trigger warnings and that we protect against. Well, I saw this one video where it's like, how does this person get off screaming and hollering and going, I don't have to listen to this? Okay, well, then waddle away, right? That's the beginning of wisdom. If you don't like the words of another, you waddle away. 3 W's. You don't like the wisdom coming from the words of another, or the anti-wisdom coming from the words of another, you waddle away. But everyone is right? We're just on such thin ice. As Henry says, in this process of devolving. But more importantly for you and me, and yes, the children that we're responsible for, the young adults that we're responsible for, because we're going to be living in what we're creating right now. As we get older, we're going to be living in the world that we're creating right now. And a dose of dis is a way of saying there are going to be people that have those opinions about you, but don't let those opinions in. When it comes to the critic spew, when it comes to the drool of all these other people, when it comes to the committee vote, trying to sell you your sense of self, just, right, we're learning that, so we have a no vacancy. There's nothing that you can say that's going to derail me from my destiny. Your drool will not derail me from my destiny. So these poor dentists that got in trouble and had to apologize, professors that have to apologize, comedians that have to apologize, all these people that go, oh, that was insensitive. It's only insensitive in the eye of the beholder. Insensitivity only works in the ears of the beholder. So I would suggest when it comes to these doses of dis, no more so than you would say, yes, please put both of my legs in full leg casts from the hip down. I broke both of my legs, so I'd like to be in a cast from my hips down. And then 8 months later, when you're cut out of the cast and your muscles atrophied, and then you go to stand up and you fall over and you go, well, what happened? Nature, biology happened. Well, what happens when we allow our brains to atrophy? Good morning, Doug. Nice to see you, sir. What happens when we refuse to mortal up? When we refuse to stand for anyone's right to say what they believe? Because they believe it doesn't mean that you have to borrow that opinion and internalize that. You don't have to let their rhetoric in your mind to ricochet around. There's nothing that says you have to let someone else with their pockets full of cans of spray paint in to graffiti your gray matter. Nothing that says that in the rule book. So instead of looking for trigger warnings, hey, Doug, good morning to you as well. Instead of looking for trigger warnings, instead of demanding, oh, I demand, just like a moving rating, I demand that there's a trigger warning. You demand. You demand. Henry and I are talking all the time about how the ego is running just rampant in the world. You demand. Now, you have every right to go, oh, well, look, I'm in control of the counterpunch. Absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. But to try to curb the speech of another simply because you don't like it, simply because you believe it's inappropriate, simply because you believe it fell in under the trigger warning, how do you get through life with that sense of ego? How do you do it? I mean, literally, how do you do it? So maybe a dose of dis is a great way to go. Taking a little bit, right? Right? You and I aren't going to ignore our critics. We let a little bit of the warning in, let their words in and go, man, just like a shot. Right? Just like a little bit of exposure. You ever notice that they're saying now that a lot of the diseases, a lot of the allergies and this and that is because kids don't eat dirt. They don't climb in trees. They don't scuff up their legs. Everything's an antibiotic. Hand soap, antibacterial hand soaps. Now doctors are saying, well, we use all these antibacterial hand soaps because we need trigger warnings, right? We need to be clean. Now doctors say, great, we cleaned all the good bacteria right out of our bodies. We've killed the very defense mechanisms that nature intended for us to have because we have to have, which for me is a must. Every time I go to the store, I'm trying to find antibacterial shampoo. How's it working? Right? So doctors are telling us now, yeah, we're responsible. All the sickness, not all of it, right? But a lot of the sickness, a lot of the allergies. Oh, I got peanut allergies. I got this allergy. I got that allergy. Right? Oh, I got tree allergies. And the doctors are saying we needed to get in and mix it up a little more when we were a kid. Why do we need to get in and mix it up a little more? Because your body builds the antibodies given the skirmishes you throw yourselves in. But if everything's going to be a trigger warning and there's no skirmishes left, and then all of a sudden your brain gets out of high school, gets out of college, gets out of your PhD, whatever it is, you get out, you take off the cast, and then you go, holy crap, my brain is atrophied. Right? I can tell you, spending all that time, 10 days with a spinal tap, you get up, my legs are like, whoa, right? Because I hadn't used the musculature in my legs. I most certainly hadn't used the musculature in my spine in order to be balanced. Amy, good day to you as well. Nice to see you. Henry says the reason this sensitivity has taken root is because the overall plan is to keep us separated. Henry, I hate to agree with you, but I so wholeheartedly agree with you. Good morning offends someone, then this leads to another reason to hate. And I'm always looking for that, you know, conspiracy theory, right? It's just Brian. Oh, you know how Brian is, right? But they. So forgetting about who the they is, if we can go ahead and keep everyone on you're right, everyone's walking on eggshells. Everyone's walking, right? Everyone's afraid to say anything. So for me, and so I'm looking at all those costumes, right? I'm thinking of getting, look, it's not going to be good for anyone if I put on a hot nurse costume. That's just not going to work for anyone. But I'm going to try to get, some of these other costumes that everyone says, oh, that's cultural appropriation. Well, thank you so very much for playing along. Thank you for noticing. I'm very excited about that. Thank you. Because where does the mashugana stop? And unless we're subject to a dose of dis, as young people, even growing as we get older, unless our minds, our brains have a chance to process that and go, yeah, I don't believe that. Right? So when you put your heart's highest calling top of the list, when you put your primal scream front and center in your life and someone attacks you, you can be like, wow, great. Is there any truth to what they're saying? No. Okay. So, as I said last week, fun fact, I don't give a crap. And you could adopt that. That's yours to take if you like. Fun fact. The heck with you and your opinion. Right? You listen to it a little bit, you take a little shot, you get a little bit of a little dose of dis, and then you go, yeah, no, that doesn't feel right. But no, not if we have trigger warnings, not if everyone's outraged about everything. The social justice psychopaths are busy running around. What are they protecting you from? Oh, I'm a social justice warrior. You couldn't find work? What are social justice warriors protecting you from other than long-term mental atrophy? Please, if you're here in the thread and you know of a protection afforded you by a social justice warrior, if I'm wrong, please tell me. Other than guaranteeing your atrophy in future endeavors, what is it really you're being protected from? Thank you, Henry. This is the information we need to hear because, like our original knowledge, we are losing the knowledge, common sense, of how to live together. And again, Henry, I go back, and I don't want to get into it because we promised to try to get out at the bottom of the hour. But think about it. You look at everything going on in Hawaii right now, the volcano. And I just laughed yesterday where someone had put up a metal fence to try to block the lava. Now, please save the emails and all the posts. I'm not making fun of the people that are subject to the volcano in Hawaii. I'm simply saying it's a construction of the ego to think, well, I'll just put up a fence and that'll keep hot lava. And then there's a video up going, oh, watch the hot lava just crush this fence. Oh, really? I never saw that coming. Clearly, human constructs are more powerful than nature. But if you look at what's going on right now, everything happening in Hawaii with the volcano. So we're going to go to war. We're going to hate each other. We're going to buy into the sense of cultural appropriation when it's all the same mantle, right? All the same crust. So what separates us are a few gallons of salt water. But if you're in North America or South America or Africa or Europe, right? You're in any of these other continents, you're willing to go to guns. You're willing to go, oh, wow, yeah, this is what you had no say in the continent you were born on. Zero. Hard to break, hard to hear, but you had absolutely no vote in your parents playing slap and tickle. Now you're here and you're going to accuse other people of cultural appropriation. When technically, if you think about it, you're the one that's culturally appropriating, right? Because your parents' culture is not your culture. When you're first born, don't you culturally appropriate? And if you look at what's going on in the volcano now, the earth is going, look, I'm just the earth. Hot lava, it's what I do. Right? With the tectonic plate shifts, kind of my thing. But we're going to be all upset over pieces of dirt separated by salt water? So I'm here to suggest for Mortal Up Mondays as we get ready to wrap it up, that doses of dis are the way, just to treat yourself. And if you're not comfortable in reaching out to other people and go, oh, I'm just giving you a dose of dis, send them my way, right? Because you can say, oh, Brad, that's just hateful. No, what it means is long-term is that someone's standing up for the protection of a human mind, of a human sense of self. I mean, we're not talking earthworms or lobsters, right? We're talking about a human mind. And Rita says it fairly boggles the mind, doesn't it? It absolutely does. So who's standing up for the post-cast mind? Who's standing up for the post-atrophy mind? Not the social justice warriors. They're absolutely confident. Right? Not these psychopaths running around asking for trigger warnings, asking for outrage alerts. Oh, outrage alerts. Sorry, I got to do this. Oh, I just love this. Outrage alerts. Outrage, 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 outrage. Right? Running around looking for anything they can to be triggered by so that they can be offended. Give themselves, it's almost as if their sense of being personally offended gives them a sense of self-esteem. How unnatural could that be? How egoic in terms of the overall process can that be? All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Sorry I ran a little long. Thank you so very much for everyone that joined us. Belated Happy Mother's Day to everyone that's a mom. Thank you for all you do, all you've done. Mothers here and mothers that have gone home. Thank you so very much for everything you've done for us, including the original hooking up with our dads so that we can culturally appropriate something we had absolutely nothing to do with, so that we can be busy going to guns, going to war. We can be busy hating each other for something we had absolutely no say in whatsoever. And maybe that's it. Maybe subconsciously, because we had no say on what continent, on what side of a big tub of salt water we were born on, we're infuriated because we didn't have a say. We didn't get to pick and go, yes, well, I think I'd like to be, you know what? I've heard good things about Australia. I think I'd like to be in Australia. Or, you know what? I have a sense that I'm going to develop a taste for skiing. Well, I think I'd like to be, maybe Swiss Alps is all I'm saying, right? Could you drop me off there? No, but man, maybe that's a part of it, is because we had no say in a world where everyone thinks all they have is say. Maybe some psychologist will come along and say, there's an underlying angst there because you had absolutely no say where your parents were, where they were busy playing slap and tickle, and then, ta-da, you're born. Because you had no say. Maybe that's a part of your grudge. Maybe that's a part of your outrage. So if anyone demands trigger warnings, Joni, nice to see your smile pop up on our feed. If anyone demands trigger warnings, realize what they're demanding. They're demanding the long-term atrophy of your brain. I can't think of anything more hateful than the complicity. I can't think of anything, hate speech, any graver than suggesting you should stand by for the long-term atrophy, the long-term dementia of a healthy human sense of self. And that's what I should say you should focus on the next time someone says, I demand trigger warnings. And I would just ask them, who are you to call for the atrophy of my brain, of my mind? Who do you think you are? All right. Again, please check out Henry's. It's just a great riff, and he's got a fantastic voice. Check out Henry's riff. He and I both posted the link here in the thread. And Henry, I thank you for everything that you did to get that up and going. It's bigger things to come, brother. Bigger things to come. Okay, and Joni, thank you for joining us. Janile, Henry, Amy, Rita, so glad you could hang out with us. Thank you very much. Doug, nice to see you, brother, as always. Janile, Marcellus, Janice, thank you. I really appreciate it. Connie, if you're still with us, thank you for joining us. Thanks so very much to Kelly. Get ready for the rain, Kelly. All right, here we go. We're going to get out of here. Thank you so very much for joining us on All Natural Being. Don't forget, check us out on iHeartRadio. If you get a chance, follow us over there. That'll just help the people at iHeartRadio go, wow, he's got like a lot of followers over here. This was a good idea, bringing them to iHeartRadio. And if you get a chance on iTunes, don't forget at IPMNation.com/ANB now. We're going to replay this at top of every hour, top of 7 a.m. 7 a.m., wherever you are in the world, you can catch a little bit of my Meshuggah. All right, there you go. Thank you so very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning.
IPMNation.com.